Good evening and welcome back to Tuk-Tuk Travels. So, Christmas is only a few weeks away, although I must admit I do miss carol concerts and the tantalising possibility of snow most terribly. Though the switch to coconuts and palm trees does have its advantages. School life goes on as normal. I'm learning more and more students and teachers' names now, which makes conversation a lot easier. And now I'm getting more into the swing of teaching. I'm becoming both more adventurous and oddly lax in my teaching methods. I probably spend as much time drawing on the board as students do in their books. At least it's educational drawings, though, I suppose. School life has gone on as normal since my last vlog. There are, however, a few interesting events to note. Firstly, the first Tuesday after my weekend trip to Bangkok, we had Sports Day. This basically ended up as being a day off for me to chaperone the students to their games at a local school, as an excuse for the school to parade their white farang teacher in front of all the other schools. To be fair, I don't mind being an object that much. Heck, if it means I get to spend more days being paid to sunbathe and watch football and volleyball, then who am I to complain? A note of point with regards to Sports Day, just to illustrate how big a bunch of pansies professional footballers are. During one match, a striker and opposing keeper banged heads mid-air, with the result that the striker was carried off unconscious, blood gushing from an open wound on his head. Not 5 minutes after he regained consciousness, and against my better medical judgment, he was back on the pitch with all but a bloodied bandage wrapped around his head to signify his previous adventures. I mean, it's pretty good going if you ask me. Another interesting day was the 28th of November, which was Loy Krathong. Now, I've spoken to you in some detail regarding Loy Krathong before, so I won't bore you with the details again. I will say a brief bit about the day though. In the morning, I was dressed in the wonderful garb you last witnessed me in, and was acting the part of a king in what can only be described as a Thai nativity. This was in front of all the kindergartners and primary grades to the 1 to 3. I had no idea what was going on, but you kind of just smile and sit there and wave. It's like being royalty. I can get used to it. I then had the, I'll call it honour in case anyone's listening, of judging the kindergarten singing competition. It was an experience. This was followed in the afternoon by judging the krathongs made in each class, the primary school singing competition, and what was basically a beauty pageant for tots. Miss Loy Krathong for children aged 6 to 11. I just don't have the words. In the evening, I was taken into town, where I watched a Peking opera, released fish into a pond, pushed my krathong out into the pond, and played around with floating lanterns. I quite like floating lanterns. I was also taken to play a few games in the market, one of which happened to be bingo. Now, I'm not entirely sure what the point of my playing bingo was really. The numbers were written in Thai on the page, and spoken in Thai by the caller. I mean, for all I know, I could have won millions that evening, and I wouldn't be none the wiser. Knowing my luck, I probably did go hunt through my bins for my missing bingo tickets and go, well actually, I won. Yay! Now, when I left you last time, I was heading to Bangkok. Bangkok was fun, though there wasn't really much to say. I went with my friend Christine, who's a teacher in Paktong Chai, the neighbouring district, and we basically did a lot of shopping, Christmassy, touristy stuff, and went to the cinema. I also happened to play the piano in the middle of this department store, naturally, and what's the surprising bit is they actually clapped, which doesn't usually happen. The weekend following my return from Bangkok was interesting. Always a good way to start a story with interesting. You know it's going to be good. Anyway, on the Friday, I was taken out by a few teachers into Korat. To begin our adventures, we visited the shrine of Lady Mo. Now, Lady Mo was the wife of the governor of Nakhon Ratchasima, and at some point in 1826, I can't precisely recall when, but while her husband was doing official businessy things in Bangkok, Korat was invaded and taken by the king from Laos. Now, after he took the city, he evicted all the townspeople and marched them onto new locations. However, Lady Mo, by basically harassing the invading force, getting the invading soldiers drunk, and leading a prisoners' revolt with tools she managed to sweet-talk the guards out of, she was able to free her townsfolk and retake the city. It's not too bad when you consider it. An entire army beaten by a housewife. Pretty good. After visiting the shrine, we went to dinner, and we went to this hotel and I had steak. It was actually the first decent steak I've had in Thailand, so it went down very well. This was followed by karaoke. Gosh, karaoke was bad. I'm just not going to talk about it. I'll deny it happened. No, there was no karaoke. There was dinner and we went home. Most enjoyable evening. Honest. On the Saturday, I went to watch a regatta, which, though a far cry from Henley, was still most enjoyable. This was followed by coconut picking in one of my teacher's gardens. There's really nothing like a fresh, cool coconut to quench one's thirst on these hot, roasting winter days. It was wonderful. She basically lives on a farm, and we went round what is her garden, picking fruit and things. That was for our lunch. A few coconuts, bananas, mangosteens. It was really nice. On Sunday, I went to Korat Fossil Museum. Now, this houses a collection of petrified trees, ancient elephant skeletons, and dinosaur fragments. Though enjoyable, my only qualm would be that there was a distinct lack of any complete fossils. I know these bones are millions of years old, and it's no mean task to dig a complete fossil, but an entire museum of elephant jawbones does get quite samey after a while. Besides that though, it was a most enjoyable day, and the interaction in the museum was very good. There are screens built out of waterfalls, 4D sort of cinema experience at the beginning, and it was very good, despite the lack of fossils. Wednesday the 5th of December was the King's birthday, and as such is a public holiday. Now, I decided on this day to go to Korat Zoo with Christine. Now, the zoo itself is rather nice. There are large enclosures, and they're all a good size. What more, it actually has a water park inside. Okay, I admit the water park was a bit naff, but I'm quite certain 5-year-old me would have loved the combination of lions, tigers, and water slides. I think I'll just stick for the cats for now. And you could also hire bicycles. Christine and I were very tempted to hire a tandem to cycle around the zoo, but unfortunately they'd all sold out by the time we'd got there. Always next time though. I shall leave you with the account of my weekend past. I had a remarkably uninteresting 3-day weekend, spending both Sunday and Monday sunbathing by the swimming pool. Saturday, however, I went on a road trip with some teachers. We began our journey at the Promlangsi Buddha Park. Quite a recent construction, this temple houses a huge effigy of a revered monk from the Rama I period. Interestingly, the entire park was first started and funded by a Thai movie star wanting to give a little back, which is pretty cool. This was followed by a visit to a floating market, which was unfortunately most disappointing, being neither a market nor floating. I think a more appropriate title would be Collection of Shops Around an Artificial Lake. Oh well. This disappointment was made up for on the return journey by the fact we passed a fashion outlet retail park, and I did my day's share of shopping there. I fear that's all I have time for this time, but I'll see you again in a few weeks as I discuss the build up to Christmas, Thai style. Until then.